Have you ever tried to comfort a friend and totally made things worse? Or, been on the other side, getting advice that just completely missed the mark? It's something we've all been through. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden science of why helping someone with their feelings is, well, so tricky. Let's get right into it.
So this is the big question, right? You mean well, you really want to be there for someone, but somehow it just backfires. Look, the answer isn't about being a good or a bad friend. It's about understanding the invisible rules of emotional connection. And once you see how it all works, it'll change everything.
Okay, so first up, let's dive right into this problem, the emotional support paradox. We're going to look at the science that explains what's really going on under the surface when we try to connect with each other emotionally.
Now, the key idea here is something called interpersonal emotion regulation, or IER. I know, it sounds super academic, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It just means that when we're in close relationships, we don't handle our feelings all by ourselves. We're constantly acting as co-regulators for each other. Seriously, think of it like an emotional dance. We're leaning on our friends and partners to help us find our footing.
So how good we are at that emotional dance? Well, it really depends on our first major clue. This hidden emotional blueprint that every single one of us has. This thing basically controls how we instinctively give and receive support, and most of the time, we don't even know it's there.
So where does this blueprint come from? It's rooted in something called attachment theory. The basic idea is that our very first relationships, with our parents or caregivers, created this deep-seated pattern for how we handle closeness and trust in all of our relationships today.
And this breaks down into 4 main styles. So if you have a secure style, you're pretty comfortable with intimacy and you can handle your emotions pretty well. Someone with an anxious style, though, might need a lot of reassurance and can get pretty intense. Then there's the avoidant style. These are the folks who tend to pull away and bottle things up. And last, you have the fearful avoidant, which is a real mix. They want to be close, but they're also terrified of getting hurt. Just seeing these patterns is a huge first step in figuring out why some attempts to help just don't work.
Okay, so we've all got these different blueprints, but how do we actually connect them? Well, that brings us to our second clue, empathy. You can think of it as the emotional bridge that lets all that support and understanding travel from one person to another.
But here's the thing. Empathy isn't just one thing. There's affective empathy, which is when you literally feel with someone. You feel their sadness in your gut. But then there's cognitive empathy, which is more about understanding for them. You get it, you can see their perspective, even if you're not feeling the emotion yourself. And you absolutely need both to be helpful. And this right here is so important. Empathy is a superpower, for sure, but it's all about balance. If you have too much of that feeling with empathy, you're just going to get swamped by their emotions, and that helps no one. But if you only have the understanding part, you can come off as cold and clinical. That sweet spot is where you have a little of both.
All right, so we get the blueprint and we get the bridge. Now let's talk about the actual tools we can use. Think of this as your emotional support toolkit, a set of strategies you can pull out in any situation.
First up in the kit, reappraisal. This is all about helping someone see their situation from a different, maybe more positive angle. It's an amazing tool, but timing is everything. If you try to get someone to look on the bright side too early, it can feel like you're totally dismissing their feelings.
Next, we've got soothing. This is pure comfort. It's not about solving anything. It's about lowering the emotional intensity and making someone feel safe. You're basically creating a calm space so they can tackle the problem later with a clearer head.
Tool number 3 is letting someone vent. Your only job here is to be a pressure valve. You're not there to fix it. You're not there to offer solutions. You are just there to listen without judgment and let them get it all out. That's it.
And our last tool is reassurance. This is all about validation. It's saying what you're feeling makes sense. You're not crazy. This directly fights that little voice in our heads that worries we're overreacting. It's a massive trust builder.
So we've got the blueprint, the bridge, and the toolkit. Let's put all the pieces together and finally solve that mystery of how to make helping actually, helpful. It always starts with the foundation, right? And that's a secure emotional blueprint. It means feeling solid enough in yourself to give and get support without being driven by fear. That creates a stable base.
On top of that foundation, we build our connection. That's our balanced empathy bridge. That ability to both feel with someone and understand for them. That's what creates a really strong link. And finally, it's about taking action. It's about having the wisdom to look at your toolkit and pick the right tool for this person in this exact moment. Do they need soothing or do they need to vent? Getting that right changes everything. And there you have it.
You put those three things together, a secure base, a balanced bridge, and the right action, and the result is more than just good advice. It's a deeper, stronger, and way more satisfying connection for both of you. That's the answer to the paradox.
And this isn't just a nice thought. The science really backs this up. When we get this right, we see real measurable benefits. People literally recover from stress faster. Communication gets way clearer because we actually understand where the other person is coming from. And it all leads to much greater satisfaction in our relationships. It makes them healthier, stronger, and just better.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Look back at that toolkit for a second. Reappraisal, soothing, venting, reassurance. Which one is your automatic go-to? And, maybe more importantly, which one do you almost never use? Just knowing your own habits is the very first step to getting better at this for the people you really care about.